Hey, what's up YouTube? What's going on? In today's new video, what I wanted to talk about and discuss is identifying an athlete's training needs, but in specific relation to energy systems training. So when I'm referring to energy systems training, I'm talking about the different energy systems that are responsible for producing energy within our body. And we primarily have three energy systems. We have our ATP creatine phosphate system, or better known as the phosphagen system, which supplies energy at a very high rate and only lasts up to about 10 seconds, but primarily used during very high intense activities or maximal effort outputs. Secondly, we have our glycolysis. So in glycolysis, we're producing energy at a very rapid rate, and it usually may last anywhere from about 10 seconds to 3 minutes, but it is the primary intermediate between our ATP creatine phosphate or phosphagen system and our oxidative phosphorylation system. And now moving into the oxidative phosphorylation system, this would be our energy system that is longest in duration but produces energy at the slowest rate in comparison to glycolysis and ATP creatine phosphate. And this is primarily your marathon runners or endurance-based athletes. So each energy system needs to be trained towards each athlete's specific goals or the requirements of their sport. So when we talk about ATP creatine phosphate, we're talking more about powerlifting, talking about all-out maximal efforts. Maybe that's a football lineman, that specific type of athlete where they're exerting very high maximal force but for a very short period of time. Our glycolysis type athlete is your hockey, basketball athlete where they're performing exercise at a very high intensity, but it's for a longer duration. This also may be your 400-meter runner, 200-meter runner as well. And then finally, we have our aerobic athlete who is primarily using oxidative phosphorylation. So that's your marathon runner, your endurance-based athlete. So the primary reason it's important to understand energy systems is because we need to be developing the right energy system for the athlete's goals and for their sport. Because if we take a powerlifter, for example, who is primarily dependent on the phosphagen system or ATP creatine phosphate, if we start training them like an endurance athlete, it's not going to work out very well in the long run because now we're developing endurance-based qualities for a athlete that is primarily doing anaerobic work, so without the presence of oxygen. And if we continuously do that, that is going to take away from their performance from being the type of power lifter that they are, because we're not developing the appropriate energy system for their demands. And they do not need that endurance-based like an aerobic athlete needs. They need that very high maximal output in short duration because they're exerting force and at a maximal level, but for a very short period of time, and they're lifting maximal weight. They're not running marathons, they're not running for hours for that matter. So the point being is that we need to identify the athlete's demands of their sport and then train the energy system that is performed or is primarily dependent upon for the sport to improve performance. And to get into a little bit more detail about this, when we're developing each energy system, we're influencing the rate at which different enzymes may be increasing or maybe decreasing, which can help speed up that system, or we can maybe get through that system more quickly or improve our recovery for that matter. So that's the whole kind of concept behind energy systems training. So the point being, when it comes to energy systems training though, just as kind of a point to wrap this all up, is that we have to identify the energy system at place and then train for that energy system for that athlete. Now, with that being said too, some athletes may have two energy systems that are primarily dominant for their sport. Some may just have one, but the point being is if they do have maybe two, we need to train both. And one thing to keep in mind too is that all three energy systems are always working together and not one is completely shut off for that matter, but there will be a dominant one depending on the athlete's sport and the requirements, and we have to train accordingly for the demands of that. So I just wanted to make a quick note on energy systems training. It's just because I've been kind of brushing up on a little bit of it since I've been kind of reviewing a little bit of my exercise phys. And I just thought I would share that quickly for anyone out there that is interested in athletic performance or interested in training athletes and when it comes to energy systems training. Now, if you have any questions, guys, about energy systems training, whether it's maybe about ATP creatine phosphate, glycolysis, oxidative phosphorylation, please be sure to leave a comment below. And with that being said, guys, we will wrap this video up. I wish you guys all the best and a successful and productive day. Take care.